x minus 2 times x minus 5 equals 0. And all they're saying is this. You have something times something else equals 0. So what does that mean if you have something times something else equals 0? What does this mean? Yes?
Or that one of those equation things is the answer is 0?
That means either this is 0 or this is 0. So one of those things equals 0. That's the main idea you need to get out of this. You get what I'm saying? 5x equals 0. What does that mean? That just means x must equal to 0 because is this 0? No. Well, that means that has to be 0, right? Well, that's nice. What if I had something like this? Y times 8 equals 0. What does that mean? And that means y equals 0. Okay, so you got that idea. Now let's go up to this guy. Something times something equals 0. What does that mean? That means either this is 0 or this is 0. Now we don't know which one's 0. It could be both of them. So how would I figure out if this was 0 or not? What was that? Oh, you could kind of divide, yeah, because it is multiplying. You can divide. So let's look at this. So if I were to go step by step, I could divide by this guy. These guys go away, right? That means x minus 5 equals 0, which means what? X must be what? So 0 minus 5 equals 0? X has to be 5. That's one answer there. Or if I rewrote this over here, and again, like she said, let's divide the other thing. These guys go away. X minus 2, what's 0 divided by anything? 0. So in this case, what is x going to have to equal to? That's it. Why would you multiply it? Well, I don't know what you mean by multiply. Why would you do that? I'm dividing this whole thing by that. That's in parentheses. You can't treat it separately. Yes?
So once you break everything down, it's just the same thing we've been doing where we just plus and minus stuff away?
Yeah. Now, I'm going to ask this. Do we need to do this first step here?
More or less.
I mean, do you need to show that work? No. What if I had another problem like this? So the answer is, for this case, x is equal to 2 and 5 in that case. We got 2 and 5. X can be two things to make that equal to 0. Now, if I had another problem, I don't want to go through all this work because it's just a lot of writing. What if I had this? Tell me what I could. You could basically tell me what the answer is going to be if I had this. If I looked at that problem, what are my answers going to be? Yes? Yeah, you could just look at this and just say that that should be -3, and that would be +9. Pretty simple, yes? Because that means if this is equal to 0, if I want to show my work, if this is equal to 0, then x equals -3. If this was equal to 0, x would have to equal to 9. I'm hoping you don't have to worry about going through all those steps. You could look at that and say -3 plus 3 is 0. 9 minus 9 is 0. Now, what if I had a problem like this? So you don't have to do the whole dividing by this thing and then doing all that, because that's just a lot of work. What if I had a problem like this, though? 2x plus 3 times 3x minus 4. So if we look at this guy right here, you're saying, in your head, you're doing this. 2x plus 3 is equal to 0 for that one. For this guy, 3x minus 4 could be equal to 0. And then you just, you do the opposite. What's the opposite of adding 3? What's the opposite of multiplying by 2? That's one answer, negative 3 over 2, very good. Same thing over here. What's the opposite of subtracting 4? So I'll just put a 4 there. What's the opposite of multiplying by 3? Dividing by 3. Those are your two answers. And that's basically what the lesson is today. So I'm hoping you could look at this and say, you know what, I'll look right up here. This, and this is the reasoning you should do. I'm going to erase this and do another one. (5x plus 1, 6x minus 7). Hopefully you look at this and say, well, the reasoning goes, either this whole thing is 0 or this whole thing is 0. If this were 0, to make that into a 0, that'd be 1 minus 1, right? So to make that into a negative 1, that means in this case, x would equal to, what's the opposite of adding 1? Subtracting 1. What's the opposite of multiplying by 5? Dividing by 5. That's one answer. Here, x equals, so I have to move that over. So what's the opposite of subtracting 7? Adding 7. What's the opposite of multiplying by 6? Dividing by 6. Those are your two answers. Negative 1/5 and positive 1 1/6.
Are we always going to have two answers for these types of problems?
Yes, because when it comes to quadratic equations, you're going to be multiplying two things, which will have 1, 2, 3, 4 terms. All right. All right, hold off there for a second. The first line basically tells you what you need to know. Like you learned that in English class, right? If you want to understand something, just read the first line. It'll basically tell you. Excuse me. Excuse me. No, I'm fine.